r/AskReddit. Reddit. What was the scandal at your high school? Grade was dating a boy 1 grade ahead of us. She decided that she wanted to break up with him. However, instead of doing it like a normal and respectable human being, she decided that the best way to go about it was to cheat on him with one of his friends. Over the next 2 weeks, people watched her as she went down the list of his friends trying to find one of them that would sleep with her. Well, as it turns out, I was one of the boy's best friends. She came to me to try and expedite this process, and I know that's what she was trying to do, because I'm a realist, and, as a realist, I realized that she was way out of my league. Some other people who had witnessed her flirting with me urged me to do it, saying you'll never get a better chance to sleep with. I didn't do it, but somebody else did the same weekend that she proposed we should. By Tuesday, it was a story circulating around the school. By Friday, we all noticed we hadn't seen her boyfriend in a couple of days. The following Saturday, I was supposed to get a ride to basketball practice with the boyfriend and he never showed. And nobody saw him again for over 3 months. Turns out, when he learned about her cheating, he went home, tried to commit suicide, was unsuccessful, and had been committed to a psychiatric hospital for 3 months, and diagnosed as bipolar. For my part, I never spoke to the girl again for the remainder of our time in high school, which is harder to accomplish when your grade has 30 students. She tried to speak to me about it about a week after the events, but I told her I wanted no part in it. I had lost all respect for her after that. I'd like to say the story ended well for all parties. The girlfriend got married pretty much straight out of high school and, to the best of my knowledge, lives in our hometown with her husband and 2 children. The friend she cheated with is also in our hometown and lives with his wife and 1 child. And the boyfriend she cheated on went off to college for 2 years, developed a drug habit, which was entirely outside of his old character, went through a string of bad relationships and supposedly multiple suicide attempts before successfully committing suicide in May of 2013 at the age of 27. I still flatly refuse to speak to her or even speak about her with people from high school. I think I was quite possibly the only person from our school to know the full details about the story, where it went after high school, and how it all ended. To the best of my knowledge, I was the last person from high school he spoke to before he died, about a month before, and the details of that night still circulate through my mind on a regular basis. We get new computers. Life is good. Internet connection is amazing. Downloading 20 songs at a time on Napster great. Skip classes to go to the pre-algebra class to just play Pico School and listen to pirated music all day. Some kids get caught downloading porn. Life is no longer good. Restrictions are put in place across the network. Get mildly frustrated. Jot down the IP address and learn about the network. Connect from off campus. Download a simple novel script called burglar.nlm. Set up admin accounts for myself and my friends. We have total control over the school network now. Tech support alerts assistant vice principal of happenings. They start to monitor the network closely. One day, for no reason, I decide, what the hell? Here's this big button on this page that says off. I turn the network off. School security busts into the room. Pulls me off. Pulls my friends off. I spend all day in the principal's office, being shuffled from one room to the next. Tech support asks me to show them what I did and how I did it. I explain that we had been accessing it from off campus. They tell me that that is impossible. I tell them everything I did. They stare blankly at me. I get expelled. My friend gets expelled. My other friend does not get expelled. Turns out, he had already told them who was responsible. Thousands of dollars in damages have been done to the network. School transcripts and grades and other important documents that have just been digitized are lost. Everybody hates me. I start spending downtime trolling the soccer team's webpage. The soccer team gets upset. They threaten to beat me up. They joke about how a guy who couldn't even word busted me. They dub me a master hacker. I never claimed to be anything. I was just upset that some douche canoes had been caught looking at porn, ruining it for the rest of us. I never go back to high school. Oh, and I also odd in SAC one time and nearly died. And was also arrested inside of home economics one weekend. because I was so high that I forgot to not trip the motion sensor. I also lit one of the yards next to the school on fire with an improvised Molotov cocktail and routinely showed up to class high on Coricidin cough and cold before they took out the ingredient that killed people. Coincidentally, the thing that I intentionally overdosed on. What a strange time that was. R.I.P. Oak Grove High School of Arkansas. First things first, my high school used to be a very small one when I was there. 1997 to 2003, the student population were about 50 students. So practically you knew everybody, and rumors spread there like a summer wildfire in drought California. Nowadays the student population is around 30 students. Bear it on mind. One problematic kiddo that usually skipped classes and did dumb shit, but slapped the pet teacher, got expelled 3 weeks. When he came back, he brought beer and was bragging about it in front of the janitor just a week after coming back from his expulsion. Janitor snitched him, got expelled 3 more weeks and his annual mean grade reduced by 20 points. He came back and a month later brought 1/2 pound of weed and tried to sell it inside the high school premises. He got expelled for the rest of the year and other high schools got a copy of his expedient. Is a law around here to notify other institutions of problematic students so they can allow or deny the inscription of said students. This one needs a little of backstory. In my high school there are special courses that are year long, like cuisine, basic woodworking, decoration of interiors, related stuff, etc. The special classes are mandatory from first year until last year of HS. The 3 first grades had to carry 2 different courses, the 3 latter only one, known as specialized courses. So, a kid took basic woodworking, stole a pair of drillers of the woodworking shop. His idea was to pawn them in order to buy a new skateboard, but his plans were foiled by a kid who saw him hiding the drills on his backpack. He got expelled for a month. A girl and 5 guys were found in the male's gym showers. The girl was from waist up naked and the boys were licking her tits. The girl happened to be the daughter of a teacher of the high school. A female teacher was having an affair with the director of the high school. A friend of the femme teacher's husband saw them, the female teacher and the director, going into a motel. They were caught in the act by both spouses. Guess they were suspicious and were in contact. Divorces and scandals after that. A problematic student usually masturbated in the classroom while the lesson was going on. He was very careful and wasn't caught until one teacher approached him and he come on the teacher's face. A kid brought a condom, masturbated with it on, then throw it into the girl's restroom, landing on the head of one girl who was using one of the stalls. The girl got an hysteric/panic episode. Cops, ambulances and a all-males inspection. The perpetrator got caught because he foolishly hid the condom pack in his backpack instead of dropping it. The next ones happened to me. There's nothing like experiencing some stuff by yourself, especially in HS. Girl on my class, let's call her Mika, got on a truth or dare with others classmates. She went for dare. They went on like Mika, you don't dare to show your tits to someone here. Now, some info on this girl. She's very well developed and horny, bear that in mind. Let's continue. I was on the classroom where they were playing, but I was finishing a fucking essay. Teacher got very precise about it, and I didn't want it to be in bad terms with the teacher. Anyways, Mika approaches me and called me hey dearest 2010. I turned to see who is talking to me and got greeted by a huge pair of tits. Boy, that was a huge shock to a pubescent myself back then. My first time watching real tits up front, close up and personal. I kept my cool and told her hey, nice tits Mika, can I touch them? She replied yeah, but be gentle, that soft/cushy/warm feeling was carved on my memory forever. For the rest of the guys on the classroom I was some sort of hero. Landed in the same class and special courses as Mika. One of the special courses was about forestal stuff, like planting trees, creating organic fertilizer, gathering local plants, etc. As thumb rule the classes were always field trips, supervised by the designated teacher. One day we were doing a plant gathering field trip. We went to a nearby forest to collect plants and seeds, and I got the need to pee, so I separated a little from the group and went on my business behind a bush. Suddenly Mika came and said me dearest 2010, what are you doing there? I tried to hide my junk from her and told her I'm peeing Mika. Can't you see? Get away before shit happens. Then she approaches me, reaches for my weenie, and told me, silly boy, I came to help you, while grabbing my dick, and gave me a deep kiss. This girl. Boy. This girl. I finished peeing, and she left back to the group. I got back, and a couple of guys were suspicious. Long story short, she dropped on her girlfriends that I have a big junk and was bushy. I ended being nicknamed Lion Mane on the underground gossip circles. Made an account just to share this. I went to high school in your basic upper middle class suburb. My freshman year, right before Thanksgiving break, someone sent an anonymous email to our principal saying that they were going to set a bomb off at an upcoming pep rally that was supposed to be on that Wednesday. Naturally everyone freaks out. We get school called off for the day. Police investigate. We come back on Monday to find out that they had traced the email back to the home computer of a senior. He was a pretty smart guy in a bunch of app classes and was involved with student council and all that. He wasn't super popular or anything and was kinda a loner. He had a group of like 4 guys he would hang out with and that's about it. But still most of us were pretty shocked because he seemed to have a lot going for him. We also wondered why he would send it from his home computer, since it's pretty fucking easy to trace where an email comes from. He was definitely smart enough to know that. Maybe he wanted to get caught. He gets expelled. A couple days go by, we think it's all over, and then the info starts getting out. So apparently they confiscated his home computer and went through his stuff and found tons of child porn. They also found that he had been using a fake Facebook account of a girl that used to go to our school but transferred a while ago. With this account he would message guys from our school, mostly from the middle school that was attached to our high school, and start flirting with them. Eventually he would ask for dick pics. Most guys declined, but some sent them back. Then he would blackmail these guys and tell them that he was going to post their dick pic on social media or show it to their friends or expose it publicly somehow unless they met up with him. And a total of 7 guys ended up meeting up with the dude. From what we heard, 2 of them got it really bad and got repeatedly raped by him. He would threaten to kill their family and a bunch of other fucked up shit if they said anything. It was insane. Our school was a madhouse for weeks. We were on local and national news. Everyone was trying to figure out who the victims were, and so much shit was getting tossed around. The administration took it particularly hard and changed up a bunch of stuff around the school to make it way more strict. It was never the same after all this happened. The guy did get convicted though. If I remember correctly, he's serving a 50-year sentence or something like that. Pretty fucked up. There were so damn many at my nice little rural public school with a state excellent rating. Biggest one was a music/theater teacher who went through a local drive-thru with his dick out, and a female student saw it. He was fired immediately. Another was a guidance counselor who stalked a student. Got mailed onto M1's trespass and menacing, but it was later overturned because his lawyer appealed on the grounds that he did not get a speedy trial. One teacher, through the course of middle and high school, years 6 to 12, changed her name 3 different times due to marriages and divorces. In middle school, it was a bit confusing for us. She ended up marrying a science teacher, and I think they are still together and happy. 2 kids died in a really bad car crash, and the whole school came together and did all of this nice memorial stuff, and then the administration tried to take it back when it came out the kids were drunkenly joyriding. They had seatbelts on, though. We had special LD classes. Learning disabled. The kids who were in those classes did 0 work and were quietly pushed through with passing grades to graduation. I'd say 90% of them were completely normal, just troublemakers. One of them was in there because he was a single father at 16 and had to bring his baby to school every day. Athletes at our school, wrestling was the big one, were routinely pulled out of class to run laps in order to maintain their weight class. The teachers apparently agreed to give up academic hope on these kids. Quite a few of them were straight F students. I kinda get it, but I should have been allowed out of class to play guitar in that case. This isn't really a scandal, but I recently found out that the hottest teacher at my school at the time, an English substitute, I think, is now basically a nun. She has a Tumblr that's filled with Bible verses and whatnot. It's really bizarre. She used to come in wearing schoolgirl skirts and thigh-high black leather boots. Gorgeous girl, mid to late 20s. That's what I got. I won't name anybody on here, but if you want to know more, PM me and I'll send you some links. There was this one guy at our school who was known for being a pit of drama. This is an achievement, as our school is in general a pit of drama anyway. Let's call him Kevin Smith. So Kevin, in senior year, had 20 ex-girlfriends who all hated him. He cheated with his current girlfriend on his ex-girlfriend, and his current GF was her best friend. His current girlfriend is his stepsister. Now what you might be doing right now is making an excuse in your mind. Like, oh, that's weird, but his parents probably remarried like a year ago. His dad remarried 8 years ago. She's been his little sister for most of his life. Kevin is a weeboo who tried to get everyone to call him Zion instead of his given name, and after that, Blair or Luna, because the last two names are what he would have been called if he was a girl. On Facebook, his name is Zion, Forks Japanese name, and his girlfriend's name is Jane Smith. She had been his sister so long she took his name. Then, Kevin decided that he is now gender fluid, not transgender, which is male to female or female to male. He is now both, without the physical characteristics of both. So we all nodded and went, "Okay Kevin, what does that mean?" And he said a dynamic mix of both genders. How I knew Kevin was that both of us were nerds and had the same general group of friends, but we also had a Japanese language class together. Kevin then decided he would go to Japan on the annual trip, which I was going on too. Kevin, a person so embarrassing to be around in public that me and my friends moved to a different hangout location, would be proverbially handcuffed to me in a country that doesn't like foreign fools. This was already a disaster in my mind. So on the months leading up to the trip, me and the other guys on the trip made it clear to Kevin, if he pulled something, they would send him back to the hotel where we would beat him up. They would send him home, and when we got back we would beat him up a second time. Imagine our surprise when out of left field came Dan. Dan, in a word, is American. He's fat, loud, tall, stupid, and has a baby face. Kevin still caused drama, but Kevin was too transfixed by Dan's star imploding to do much himself. There's too much to tell here, but here are some choice stories. We came back from a day of adventuring when we stopped at a mall. You could see our hotel from any direction, except behind a train station. We're behind a train station. So we said to everyone, "Okay guys, the mall closes at 9, the food court closes at 10. Shop first, eat later, do whatever. If you need to be escorted back to the hotel, just rally up at the steakhouse." Dan dropped $100 on a mouse and a mousepad because it was 66% off. I said, "You're not saving $200, you're spending $100, but he seemed unconcerned. Most of us had brought $300, so we just shrugged it off like, okay, this kid wants to waste his money, that's on him. Dan and his two cronies, who are so unimportant that we'll call them Dan 2 and Dan 3, forget that the mall closes at a different time than the food court. So they see the shutters closing and freak out. They forgot where to meet up, so they took a cab back to the hotel. Japanese cabs are not American cabs. In America, the guy will speak English and that's all you're guaranteed. In Japan, cab drivers wear suits, wear white gloves, and the cab doors open by themselves. It was $60 to go about 5 blocks. When Dan gets back to the hotel, we think he's blown about half his trip money. So he decides to make it worse. He turns on his Wi-Fi hotspot in Japan without an international plan for an hour in a hotel with free Wi-Fi. He said he turned it on for half an hour in New Zealand and got a $800 bill, so we figure double the time is double the bill. At this point we figure he's going to hang himself on the plane back because that's half the cost of the trip in one phone bill. After a few days, we leave Kyoto and go to the small town of Fujinomiya. If anyone from Fujinomiya, or really even Japan, is reading this, I'm so sorry. Please, don't ever host someone from our town again. We did a homestay in Fujinomiya. We got to stay at a family's house for the night to really get a feel for how Japan is for normal people there. One rule is, you cannot compliment anything material in someone's house because they'll give it to you. It doesn't matter what it is, doilies, bedspreads, art. If they don't give it to you, they either understand you're a filthy foreigner just trying to be nice, or they're going to mail it to you because they know you can't carry it out. Dan compliments a nice scroll in his host family's home. It was very elegant, with flowing calligraphy. As it turns out, that scroll is a family heirloom of his host family. A family heirloom from the Sengoku Jidai, the Warring States period of Japan, 1000 years ago. They take it off the wall, roll it up, put it in a box, and gave their 1000-year-old scroll to this kid. So we make it to Tokyo, and we're all just sort of numb from the fact that Dan has a fucking artifact in his bag that he is being very rough with. We had one more guy than we should have, so the girls got to be in hotel rooms, the boys got to be in the basement hostel of the hotel we were in. Dan was blasting music from speakers he had bought or brought with him this whole time. It's so loud, you can hear it in the lobby. I'm about to storm out because I'm done with this kid shit when Kevin grabs my arm. He signals to me and whispers for me to stick around for a while. I just shrug and sit back on my bunk. Dan and Co didn't see cause the bunks had curtains and we closed them on their side cause fuck those guys. After about 20 minutes, in walks the male chaperone on the trip. Now this guy wasn't just some parent. He was the most respected counselor in the school, turned athletic director. Dan is on the water polo team. Gotta keep your coach's boss happy. So they turn off the music, and the counselor starts talking. He had a way of speaking that was very approachable, but he often used it to ask hard questions. If you did something stupid, you better pray this guy doesn't find out, because he would make you feel stupid, usually in front of your mom, before he punished you. So he says, Dan, it's come to my attention you bought and consumed alcohol. In an hour, I'm going to send an email to your counselor and your mom. If you want to get your story straight, I'll be upstairs. It turns out that in Japan, they don't give a fuck about drinking ages. So Dan was able to just walk up to a vending machine and just buy a beer. Dan brags super loudly about it and sips it, discovering that it's not to his taste. Dan too, however, sipped it and then spilled it. They then lied about cleaning it up. They said, oh, we spilled pineapple juice, but we cleaned it up. And they never did. Dan and his buddies are in a huge fight over who snitched, and after a while Dan goes up to confess, and then guilt trips Dan into confessing too. Here's what they think happened. The hotel called the counselor to give him a bill for the dry cleaning for the beer stain, and he was like, what beer stain? There are only kids in those rooms, and then just asked around because 10 people are on the trip, and he was in no way subtle about it. Here's what actually happened. Kevin totally fucking snitched. For that, I owe him a debt I can never repay. One day I will tell my grandchildren that I was there when our Lord Zion completed his ascendance to a god among men. This is not a Dan story, but it is a story nonetheless. On the flight over, they gave us food. Yeah, what's the deal with airline food? We made that joke 1,000 times. The first time around was lasagna and omelets. I got the lasagna, it was okay, 5/10, average. On the second time, they ran out of lasagna, so I got an omelet. This omelet smelled like eggs. This is not that big of a deal, because it is made of eggs, but this is not your everyday omelet. If there was a store that sold scents, this store would be Walmart, and this egg would be bottom shelf, Walmart own brand type egg smell. I figure this is one of those things where it's probably delicious and my own hesitation is holding me back from something amazing, but I'm still suspicious. So I take a tiny section off, just enough to really get a taste of it, and put it into my mouth. It was an egg, that's for sure, but when I swallowed it, I just felt and heard a gurgling noise from my stomach. I said fuck that, and abandoned the omelet. That day, I didn't eat anything. I felt sort of sick, and only got water at a restaurant we went to. In our hotel, I got matched up with Kevin, and another guy I'll call Jacob. Kevin gets the bed next to the bathroom. I get the bed next to Jacob, and Jacob gets the bed next to the window. Jacob pulls out a fucking Wii U he had brought with him, and starts playing on the gamepad. We're all pretty wiped, so we are just sitting in bed trying to sleep, and Jacob is playing on mute. But one thing Jacob was doing was he was moving around a lot. Hotel sheets are very starchy and make a lot of noise when you move in them. Jacob was shuffling around, constantly trying to get a better position. When I finally fell asleep 20 minutes later, I woke up roughly 3 hours later at 2 AM. Some ungodly amount of rustling is coming from Jacob's side of the room, like a horror movie protagonist in a killer's cabin. I look over and he's sound asleep, but his entire body is vibrating. It's like a seizure almost, except he is sound asleep. His head is perfectly stationary, while his entire body just shakes like a stripper with Parkinson's disease. I turned my head back over and go the fuck back to sleep, but only for another 3 hours. I wake up again at 5 AM. We had agreed to wake up at 6 AM so we could get food before we left. It's 5 AM. Kevin's bed is right next to the bathroom, and I have a monster of a shit to lay. Put your finger on your left side. That's how backed up I was. I'm an asshole. I'm not very nice. But I draw the line at shitting where someone is sleeping. So I decide to wait until 6. I'm looking at Reddit on my phone, groaning a little every 30 seconds, and hoping against hope I don't lost concentration and shit the bed. It's 5:45, and I'm trying to hold out for 15 minutes until I can shit when a fart comes. It just barely squeezes by, but I think I feel shit coming out, so I rush to the bathroom thinking fuck Kevin. I drop my pants, pull down my underwear, and demolish that toilet. There were only 2 senior girls on the trip. Only one of them was straight. Dan and his friends were sophomores, and all the sophomore girls had the displeasure of actually knowing them, so they had no chance. It's a good 6 or 7 days into the trip. You can tell these guys did not jack off in the shower. They're all trying to get with the senior girl. This girl was nice, but weirded out that half the boys on the trip wanted to fuck her. So Dan is talking over his loud music in the basement of the hotel about how hot this girl is when Dan 2 joins in. He's like, yeah, I have a crush on her too, blah blah blah. Except Dan and Dan 3 start shitting on him, metaphorically, because, according to them, Dan 2 is gay. Dan 2 excuses this by saying he's bisexual, but Dan and Dan 3 aren't having it. They're saying he's not even really gay. So Dan 2 pulls out his unstumpable card, his trump card if you will, and says that he was in a relationship with another man. Now, normally, this is pretty definitive proof that someone is gay. Except, Dan and Dan 3 revealed that the relationship in question was with a pre-op transgender male. That is, a man trapped in a woman's body before sex opus. So functionally a woman, while they're debating this and talking about how hot the senior girl is, when Kevin joins in the fun. Kevin starts telling them this bullshit story about how his hands are legally weapons and he had to get special permission to go out of the country. According to him, he took like a lot of martial arts classes or something, and he can kill someone with just his bare hands. This was met with some skepticism. Kevin stormed out of the room in a huff because they wouldn't believe his story when a senior guy on the trip asked me if any of that was true. In response, I told them about the time that Kevin tried to convince us there are 14 billion people in the world. I told them to take what Kevin says with a grain of salt. Then I went upstairs to look at erotica in the empty lobby of the hotel because my raging hard-on was getting a little soft with all the shit going on in the room. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Please leave a like and subscribe.